Yeah.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the Fire District Board meeting of April 20th. Can we say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to
To the flag
Flag.
of the United States of
States of
America
America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
All right. Moving on, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich,
Here.
Beckman,
Here.
Fox,
Here.
Verplank,
Here.
Phelps,
Here.
Pullen,
Here.
and Miller.
Here.
Okay, that's everyone.
Would everybody please remember to mute their cell phones? And could we have approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Pullen to approve the agenda as it stands. We'll just do that. Everybody wave their hand. Yes, that's fine. All right, moving on. Can we have approval of the minutes of the March 16th meeting, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 16th, 2020.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Pullen, a second by Fox to approve the minutes of 2020. Is there any discussion? Okay, can we approve those with a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, minutes are approved. Could I have approval of the minutes of the April 7th Zoom test meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 7th, the Zoom test meeting.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Phelps and a second by Aldrich. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes. Oh, no, roll call vote, sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Okay, next is public comment. Chris, I think you're gonna have to do this because I can't see everybody that's at the meeting. So
But it,
I have to call on people for me.
sure. Agenda items only and limit to 3 minutes. Is there anybody, if you want to raise your hand, either virtually or on the screen? I'm not seeing any. I only see 4 public. No one at this point? Yeah, I don't see anyone, Jane.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, can we have a request for payments, please?
Sure, I'll make a motion to pay the accounts payable. The sum of $119,467.14.
I'll support.
That was Scott
Yes.
and support by Eric.
Yes.
Is there any discussion? No discussion. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. All right, Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Can we have a financial report, Peter? There, Pete?
I'm here. I'm just figuring out, hit the right button so you can hear me. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay, so everybody's got the revenue and expenditure report to today's meeting. Basically, there are some line items that are over budget. Currently, there's about $15,000 altogether that we have line items that are over budget. I'm going to meet with the chief and the deputy chief hopefully tomorrow sometime, and we're going to have a budget adjustment for May. There's nothing that I have any concerns of right now. It just, we'll have to move some things around. Medical supplies are over there. That's cause of the current COVID-19. Plus we had some other issues that we had to do some updates. terminology with the COVID. Some of these are COVID that nobody knew was going to happen, but we got some wages. We need to move a few things around, but I think overall, the current budget, we're in pretty decent shape. So we'll have a budget adjustment for the May meeting. I don't know if anybody has any particular line item questions or concerns.
No, I don't.
No,
Chair, can I make a comment related to financial?
Sure, go ahead, Greg.
Regarding the medical supply, we have submitted a reimbursement, so we're hoping to get 75% of that, some of those expenses back. Whatever was COVID related, we'll do everything we can to appease the federal government and Allegan to get reimbursed. So hopefully we'll see that number go down.
All right. Anybody else?
Stacy's got her hand up.
no, I just wanted to clap Greg. Sorry.
Way to go, Greg.
Thank you.
All right. So no other questions about the financial report. Thank you, Peter. Moving on, fire chief comments. Take it away, Greg.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks for being on the meeting, Zoom-wise. I'll go through this pretty rapidly. We all know call volume is down. Don't let that fool you. Our volume of emails has just skyrocketed. But in any event, I was surprised to see that we are at 66 calls for March. Ended up higher than I anticipated. So we'll work through. I think we're down about 15 or 16% on calls. Could we scroll? We'll jump out of that. Next slide. Yep. So we're about 16% down on calls. Gives you an idea where we were at year to date on April 20th. Pretty much says it all right there. Response times are running pretty much on track, under 6 minutes. We're good there. Scroll, please. It's pretty typical, 43 calls that are priority 1 and 2. So we can scroll through that. EMR response times, about 11 minutes, 49 seconds. Okay, keep going, please. Days of the week, this is pretty typical. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Our most busier times of the day, obviously, are during the day, as shown by the graph. Pretty typical. Our EMS call, Series 300, running about 58%. Okay. With all the vehicles that people have parked, even though gas prices are way down, we're way under on motor vehicle incidents. So that's a good thing. Keep going, please. Scroll. Special events. Looks like going back a slide to fire boats, we had a boat recovery that we called into because nobody else would respond. We had to recover a truck that had submerged, a trailer, and then the boat that became adrift. That was about, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night one night in Township. So we were fortunate we were able to deploy the boat and get to that.
Greg, can I ask you real quick? Are you guys involved with this order to not allow boats out in any way, or has there been a problem with that at all, or?
No, the enforcement entity would be Allegan County Sheriff. We have not been involved in that.
Okay, thanks.
That pretty much includes the stats for this month. Moving on the agenda, we have a historic review. I believe Eric Beckman asked for this. It just shows millage history. We couldn't do it the last month because we had an abbreviated board meeting. Just shows the history of the millage from back in 1999, the difference in the millage, percentage of increase, number of calls, difference in calls. So that, again, it's just something that's explanatory. We wanted to show everyone where we're at. Okay, if no questions on that, we'll move on. Sorry to say, community risk reduction wise, the state of Michigan is up to 40 fatal fires since 2000, since the beginning of the year. 8 since the last meeting, really high numbers for Michigan. Next up on the agenda, we did a birthday drive-by at the request of one of our residents, and the program took off. I think we've done about 8 or 9 of them so far
Good.
this year. So it's really gone by well. Dan Fox invited us to one. The crew likes it, and the public likes it. So it's been a real good thing. Next on the agenda, happy to say certification-wise, John Miles and Kyle Meyer are now in Fire Inspector 1. So we have 2 more fire inspectors. Not an easy class to pass. So when you see them, please congratulate them. Happy to report we received a $500 grant written by the team. The team leader on this grant was Chris Bernardi. So it's $500 we'll use towards preparing the sprinkler trailer for side-by-side demonstrations.
So Greg, going back one, we have 5 fire inspectors now in the department?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's correct. The last item, Mrs. Chair, if I could mention, is just a brief thank you to Service Master, who offered to come in and sanitize our department on a weekly basis. As you know, we're doing it at least twice daily. We said, sure, come on in, and they spent a couple hours here last Friday sanitizing the station. They've done a number of stations in the county. So big thank you to Service Master. That includes my chief comments, Mrs. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to unfinished business, we have the public safety floating dock permit status update. Go ahead, Greg.
Really happy to announce that we have all approvals in place. Saugatuck City was very instrumental in getting the approvals. We had to go through Fisheries, Army Corps, and ultimately Eagle, along with Saugatuck City. So we're working out some details with installation and some requirements that were part of the resolution to approve the underwater portion of the floating dock. Because we have a water main there, we've got to make sure we preserve the integrity of the water main. So there's some tests that are imposed on that, and we're working through that now. That's all I have for that.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business. Is there any discussion about that? Anybody questions? I'm sorry. Okay, moving on to new business, funding approval request for Fireboat 2192 replacement.
So the main reason for the replacement of 2192, which is the boat shown at the bottom of the screen, is the main problem is the hull is cracked and there's flotation foam inside the hull before they weld on the deck. That foam is full of gas, oil, and water. It weights down the boat, and we can't even get 10, 11 knots out of the boat. This boat's supposed to be capable of 28 knots. So this shows a transom shot of the boat, and basically to the left and to the right of the jet drive, those cavities are filled with foam, and that's what's saturated with water. That's why we have to keep it out of the water. So years ago, before I became chief, they tried to fix that, and they couldn't do it because of the foam being so wet. Yep, Chris has got the area circled, and it goes from the stern of the boat forward. That's what's saturated. And I won't get in detail. There's a whole list of other reasons to to replace the boat. Biggest thing is it's really slow. And that boat is really designed for going upriver. We need to get there quickly. Another reason it's a jet drive, very hard to maneuver. We got it for free, and we're asking your permission to replace this with a commercial hull boat, 1/4-inch aluminum hull. Dave Anderson, as you know, Dave Anderson did our boat project for the big fireboat. So we need capabilities to go upriver and to go out in Lake Michigan quickly. This provides another 500 gallon per minute pump that the big fireboat can't go to, can't access. So if there are any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them.
Greg, on
Yes.
the new boat, I've noticed how little clearance there is now on the Blue Star Bridge, certainly on the south end of it. Is this able to clear that? all right?
Yes, we've designed it to take into account that the water level may go up even more. So the clearance on there has been engineered into the boat design. The kind of where the radar is mounted, that shaft that goes up will be removable. It can drop down. So to answer your question, Dan, yes.
Okay.
And we looked at purchasing boats from Metalcraft and Lake Assault, and they're way over 100 grand. This is locally, it's from a Douglas company. Dave Anderson builds a very robust boat. So this is what we would recommend that you do.
He builds those at Tower, right?
Yes, correct.
Have we considered getting rid of the other boat and consolidating to one boat? I have some apprehensions on this, especially in this time we're in right now of spending that kind of money. I kind of feel like this has gotten sprung on us. I know we talked about it, but I don't feel comfortable yet. That's just voicing my opinion on this.
Well, I certainly respect that, Eric. The other pump, this pump on this boat is 500 gallon per minute. It would not be capable of augmenting the water supply for either city. The other boat is 1,500 gallons per minute, and it's also a UL listed fire pump. While this is a fire pump, it doesn't meet the minimum 750 gallons per minute because that became too big. I mean, just the pump for this boat's about $20,000. The boat's not 85 or 75. The pump is a large portion of that. I wouldn't recommend getting rid of 2191, which is the bigger fireboat, because of the capabilities of having a 6 to 7 crew member for recovery, body recovery, and primarily to augment the water supply along the river in Douglas and in Saugatuck City. This could certainly supply a water main along Butler Street or Center Street in the city in Douglas.
Where do we have the money in the budget for this?
Well, I've been budgeting for this for 2 years. It's in the capital improvement plan. We started this 2 years ago. So we've saved the funds for it, essentially, Taru.
Okay. Okay, so we've got the money for it. Okay.
It was budgeted for, it was planned for.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Eric,
Yeah.
could you be more specific about,
Well, not really, because I got this information on Friday. I've had a chance to look at it, but I don't know. We're spending $75,000. Have we looked at every avenue? And I know Greg well enough that he probably has looked at used boats over the years and everything else. I don't know. I just don't have a warm, fuzzy feeling about this. Maybe with time I will, but it's just one of those things.
Well, we've got the summer season coming up on us, so we've got to make some kind of a decision soon.
Well, it won't be built by this summer anyway, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Are we using the old boat this summer, or is that just out of the picture? The one that you showed us earlier?
Yes, we are using it.
Okay. It looks like that's kind of like a hot tub cover that gets real heavy and you can't, I mean, I know how that foam goes. When
It's so slow. It's such a poor responding boat, and maneuvering it is even a challenge. So I decided we're not going to have another jet boat. It's a great idea, but you have very minimal maneuvering. Some of you are boaters. I wanted a prop drive boat. It's just a 150 horsepower motor. This boat can take a 225. I scaled it all back. Boats are expensive, and I understand that, but we have budgeted for it.
The lift, or whatever you call it, the
Yeah.
shore station lift or whatever, that's coming up for disposal. Is that, I can't remember, is that a net reduction in assets along with 2192, or do we have to replace?
That's correct. That's correct. That boat lift will be sold. Matter of fact, 2192, the boat we want to get rid of, became so heavy it broke the lift.
And it's the only boat that uses the lift, right?
Correct. This boat that you're looking at in the request documentation is it will stay in the water. It will not be on a lift.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask anyway. In what cases does this boat get used and 2191 doesn't serve the purpose?
Sure. So we have a long waterway upriver. For example, we had a boat fire in Township that was upriver. The big boat is too deep a draft to go upriver, Aaron. Also, it won't fit underneath the bridge. So there's two problems: draft and then clearance on the bridge. So the bigger boat is capable of going, in Lake Michigan. So is this one to a certain point. Typically what you do is you run a fast powered boat for reconnaissance, pickup, you take it to the master boat for delivery, and you treat the people on the master boat. For example, we've had some boat accidents where there were 4 or 5 people. So you pick them up with either the police boat or this boat, then you take them to the master boat and bring them back to shore for treatment. This boat, the replacement boat, is capable of going upriver. Our last boat fire was upriver at, it's just off of 62nd and Wiley Road at the marina there.
Deep Harbor.
And, yep, Deep Harbor. And this one can get there much quicker. The sheriff went up there right away, but he had no ability to suppress the fire. So they kind of knocked it down with fire extinguishers, and then we got there eventually.
Is there an opportunity either, excuse me, either via Homeland Security or the Coast Guard, or I don't know who, to apply for grants related specifically to the on-water fire rescue that the Coast Guard has largely abandoned because they can't get here fast enough, and nobody else has it. So the taxpayers of the 3 jurisdictions are funding this, but it's a service that, I would guess, I don't know if the records are kept, but I would guess at least in half the cases, the people involved benefiting directly from the service, boat accidents and whatnot, are from outside the area and whatever. It seems like a reasonable place to at least try and score a grant.
The only place I'm aware of to get a grant is through FEMA. And the problem with boats and FEMA, the firefighter grants, is boats are such a low priority that, well, I helped Holland Fire write a grant I reviewed it. Let's say it that way. I reviewed the grant, did a little tweaking on the grant, and it's just not a priority like air packs are or turnout gear. So no one seldom tries for it.
I'm wondering even maybe about approaching Upton, who helped with the issue on the Chain Ferry. I don't know, maybe it's hopeless. I can understand if it is.
I guess I'm going to speak out again. My feeling is as a boat owner, I know that the price tag on it is just the start. And this is not something we're going to be able to, well, maybe we will be able to shrink wrap because it is a outboard, but do we have a trailer to move this thing, place to store it? I don't know. There's a lot of questions that, I don't have the answers to, I guess.
I can help you out with that, Eric. And they're good questions. There is a trailer that's included, and Allegan County stores our boats like this for us free of charge.
Okay, good.
And inside heated storage. So it's a good question because you're right, cost.
Well, I mean, I understand the purpose for it, and I would say that current boat looks like a real piece of crap, so it looks like it's a replacement.
If we budgeted for this and that other boat, it's obvious as a piece of shit. I'll agree.
Greg, what can we do in the meantime? Because it doesn't look like the jet boat is even worth talking about putting in the water or keeping. You want to dispose of it anyway. This new boat that you're talking about won't be done until probably next spring, knowing the way boat builders build, because I was one at one time. What do we do in the meantime?
My advice would be we put the lift in the water on the existing dock. The lift would be on the south side as it always has been. And we would nurse the boat along as long as we could. We just can't leave it in the water. I might also trailer the boat and launch it on an as-needed basis. Keep it out of the water. So.
Didn't you say the lift was broken?
Yeah, we fixed the lift. We rebuilt the cable. The problem we have is the lift is 4,000 pounds rated, and this boat now is over 4,000 pounds. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence about, leaving it on the trailer. So we have some options to do, and there's a safety factor built into the lift, and that's what I was banking on. But I would prefer to leave the existing 2192 on the trailer, launch it as needed, and sell the lift. That would be probably the best thing to do.
Well, I think that's a decision you can make, because you know better than at least me, or I think most of us on the board would know which would be the best option.
The best option that I say is keep it out of the water and keep it on the trailer. Get rid of the lift.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. I know the city's had some complaints about how ugly the lift is. And I don't
Agreed.
think-
Any thoughts of keeping that on the trailer, maybe near the red dock, if we could, to help out in response time?
I suppose we could, Eric. What I worry about there is, security. I just worry about, I don't know.
Well, I guess how many times did we use that boat last year that we needed it, and we needed it that quick?
You have to look at the stats. I don't remember, Eric. I do know that we can launch it down at Spear Street from here pretty quick. Matter of fact, quicker than going to Douglas at Red Dock. And Saginaw City is keeping Spear Street open for us. So I think that would be your best option.
Well, if this water keeps on coming, you could probably just tie it up at Jane's house.
There you go.
My garage is already a boathouse. So.
There you go.
Okay, so where do you want to go with this? Do we have a motion?
I think it's something we need to have.
So Scott, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. Make a motion to authorize the fire district staff to execute agreements to purchase 21-foot Anderson Boat Works aluminum work boat, including the Darley fire pump, associated equipment, and associated installation materials and fees not to exceed the amount of $75,000.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Pullen. Is there any more discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps?
Yes.
Pullen?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Aldrich?
Yes.
Yes. Beckman?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
Link?
Yes.
And Miller?
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? Okay.
Motion carries unanimously. And we're on to, excuse me just a minute. Equipment disposal request.
Now, this is
2,000 Ambar rescue boat, excuse me. A 2,000 Ambar rescue boat. Greg, go ahead.
All right, this is to get rid of the old one we're going to use until we get the new one.
That is correct.
Okay, so even if we, if we approve this, it won't happen until we get the new one, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay.
You really think you can get $3,500 out of that thing?
I think we're going to get more than that. I think the trailer alone is worth $1,500. So, and with the diesel engine in it, yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be more than that.
The diesel and the jet drive, the pump going with it too?
I'm sorry?
Is the pump going with it too?
The pump is, no, it is not going with it. The pump is of very little value. It's from the River Queen fireboat, which,
Oh, yeah, one of those.
which sunk to the bottom.
Yeah.
So there's no value in the pump. Matter of fact, we had trouble getting it running last time. So, but I agree. I think you're going to get more like $5,000, which can be rolled in back into the boating fund to offset the price of the new one.
Sure.
But we just don't know what kind of value we're going to get for something like this. It might even be another fire department that buys it. We don't know.
Okay.
So Greg, would you sell it like at the end of the season with thinking that the new boat will be ready by next season? What's the timeline for the new boat?
Well, I think realistically, the new boat, I had planned on it being next spring, but Dave Anderson seems to think he can get it done much quicker. So that's why we kind of have it open-ended. We don't know. I think Anderson's projects have come to a standstill, and this one is he's already cut. He created a tunnel drive. He's already cut out the jet drive on the new one. He's taken out the engine. So he's already done work on it because he was going to do that regardless if we purchase it or not. So it's one of those things that I think we should be, I would rather sell this boat in the middle of summer than in fall.
Yeah.
I think we'll get more money for it. But I'm giving you a crummy answer because I don't know when Dave will be ready with it.
The sooner you can get rid of it, probably the better off you are.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this is just another wait and see in life because we seem to have
Yeah.
been faced with a lot of those lately.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we need to, I'm sure you'll have full disclosure on the water and the thing Because I don't think
Absolutely.
no one's going to buy it for a boat. They're going to buy it for parts, I would guess. But
I would
who
think
knows?
they would buy it for the diesel engine. That's the same engine that's in my sailboat.
Mhm.
So they fetch a good buck.
Okay, so I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize fire district staff to sell the 2000 Amber 17-foot jet boat after the replacement 21-foot aluminum workboat is placed in service, and to accept no less than $3,500 for its sale while attempting to obtain the highest dollar possible.
I'll
The timing on that is different than what we've just talked.
After the replacement of the 21-foot aluminum, right?
Yeah, that means you can't sell it this summer.
Maybe, it depends on when the boat's done, the new boat's done.
Well, why don't we just take the time out of there or at the discretion of the department or something like that?
Yeah, that's good.
Or we could put after the replacement of the boat or before.
Well, then you don't need it in there at all.
Yeah, just take the timeline out.
Okay,
Want me to reread what they just said for you?
and just go,
All right, so motion to authorize fire district staff to sell the 2000 Ambar 17-foot jet boat and to accept no less than $3,500 for its sale while attempting to obtain the highest dollar possible.
yes, yes.
I'll second that.
Okay,
I've got a motion by Pullen and a second by, who seconded it?
I did.
Dan?
Fox.
Second by Dan. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Pullen.
I guess.
Fox.
Yes,
Aldrich.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Verplank.
Yes.
Phelps.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the disposal of the boat lift. Greg, you wanna?
Yes, so my recommendation on this would be to make a motion to sell it. You could modify this motion to eliminate the time frame, so we could perhaps get this boat lift sold when we can. So,
I'll make a motion to authorize the district staff to sell the shore station boat lift as soon as possible.
Is there a second?
you want to put
Well,
the amount
yeah, you
in
have to
there too?
accept no less than
No less than
$1,000.
$1,000.
Could I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Aldrich to authorize the sale of the shore station boat lift for no less than $1,000. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps.
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes,
Verplank.
Yes.
Pullen.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
thank you. Where are we up next here?
Okay, moving on. We have item D under new business, COVID-19. Excuse me, Annex Emergency Support Function Lead.
I just wanted to brief the board on the role of this fire department and its chief, not only on a local level, but on a county level. Saugatuck Fire is designated as an annex for Elgin Central Emergency Management. So we have a function in the COVID preparedness and prevention for the whole county. My role is emergency support function lead. I am the fire service rep. We control all the personal property equipment that goes to the fire service. So kind of a big responsibility. And I just wanted to share that with the board. Kind of an honor to serve that capacity. There's no way this county is going to manage COVID without collaborating. So each discipline must be doing that. And Saugatuck Fire is a big component of that. So I think you should be proud of that. Next up is our insurance company, MMRMA, sent me a COVID plan that I really liked. So IT director Eric Kirchherk and I, Eric was the lead. We'd modified it. I added a few things to the plan. We tailored it for our department. And I think that it would be wise just to show the public, hey, we are doing this in a format that's completely acceptable and has been a vetted plan. Let me back up a bit. The person that was key in Saugatuck being prepared for COVID was David Blatt, our medical director. David Blatt came to me probably 9 weeks ago and said, Greg, this thing's getting serious. I'm predicting it's going to be a pandemic. So I had to stop what I was doing and listen to David. And he's certainly a subject matter expert, and he provided a lot of guidance. He has a great affiliation with Chicago Fire. He shared a lot of documents. So Saugatuck was at the forefront of health surveys, disinfecting the trucks, the station. And that was all David Blatt. We just did what he told us to do. And I believe this preparedness response plan complements what this fire board and its fire department have done with mitigating the effects of COVID. So you've heard of Armageddon, you know? This is kind of like Coronageddon we got going on here. It's just a term I coined over the weekend. So I think you should adopt this.
Well, I haven't read the whole thing, but I perused it. I think at some point in time I read the whole thing, but I got the gist of it, but I have to admit I did not read it completely, word by word.
Understood. And it also was set up by our insurance company with a legal team and a medical team. So I was really impressed with it because most of the stuff we've been doing, and then they certainly helped us out with, as well as the whole general liability situation.
So does anybody have a motion?
Motion page.
Sorry, I forgot to put one in there, I think.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry about that.
We'll just accept the plan, COVID plan adoption. That's all there is to it.
Right.
Adopted as presented.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead,
compliments to
Dave, if you
David
want to
too.
do that.
Should I do it, or I make a motion to adopt the model's COVID-19 preparedness response plan and instructions as written, as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have a motion by Aldrich and a second by Phelps. Is there any more discussion?
Sorry, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I also haven't read the whole thing, but I was wondering is there anything in here for if any of the department employees or staff end up contracting COVID? Is there anything in here around how we treat that? Do they just use normal sick time? Are there special sort of allowances we would give for someone if they ended up contracting COVID, which could very well be as a result of their job?
Absolutely. A lot of it refers to your policy and your handbook, workers' compensation and employment. For example, they want you to shelter in place. There are some people that have contracted COVID that don't want to go home. So what do you do with them? So the county actually has secured an agreement with a couple of hotel facilities. So that's something that happens, but 9 out of 10 people would shelter in place and would be still on the payroll.
Mm-hmm.
So basically that's how it's done. A lot of collective bargaining has different criterion on that. We do not.
If you were to assist a patient with COVID, would you isolate any members of the team that were there, or how do you do that? I mean, if you know it was a case, I mean, I know you're taking protocol with the PPE and everything, but.
Right. So if it's a known COVID, a positive COVID, they would put on Tyvek suits, mask, N95, gloves. It would be treated like a hazmat situation. When they exit, when they're done treating that person, they're going to take all that clothing off, put it in an appropriate bag to be discarded. And with those protective measures, that's all they're required to do. If they develop symptoms, we can fast track their testing because they're high risk and their public safety. So only unless some symptoms reveal themselves, other than that, we would not have any criteria.
Are you testing all the employees right now, or, I mean, how's that? Anybody felt like they needed testing at this point, or?
Anybody who was enters the station is screened. And then if somebody develops a fever or whatever, we've had maybe 3, and they all were tested, all negative.
Okay.
That's good to know. Yeah.
All negative, yes.
So anytime you go to a person's home at this point, you're doing this anyhow, correct? Whether they have, if it's a heart attack, do you gown up and do all that stuff anyhow now, or?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that happened this weekend. We had a cardiac arrest call, and everyone was masked, safety glasses, and gloves. Yes. Now,
Good.
again, it wasn't a confirmed COVID. Confirmed COVID is another protocol that requires those white Tyvek suits. Keep it off your clothes. Did not have a confirmed COVID. We had a suspected COVID, or we had a person under investigation. When we did the assessment, they said I was tested negative. So.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Could we have a roll call vote on this, please?
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, correspondence. Greg?
I received a couple of emails today. Well, one that went to the attorney and waiting for a reply. What it was on the agenda is on your screen.
I don't see, on the screen.
Medical call that we got a kind note from a person who we responded to. Then we had another call for a person that we brought in on live fire training. That would be Mike Boros. And we got a really nice letter during the COVID times from city manager from Griffin. That was really, really nice. That is up on your screen, a letter of gratitude for anybody in public safety. So we just wanted to point out to the fire board that people took the time to express their thanks to the firefighters, and we wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. That's nice to get.
All right, moving on to the second public comment. Please limit your, excuse me, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And Chris, will you take this over because I can't see everybody?
Sure. So you can either raise your hand and do that from your phone. If you're calling in, I believe it's *9. I'll just try and unmute everyone real quick just to see if there is anyone that I'm missing, because there's only one. I only see one person from the public on here that's not a department employee. All right, everyone is unmuted. Or should be.
Okay, hearing none.
Yeah, they don't seem to be acknowledging it.
I saw
So,
Griffin's hand go up, did it? No?
Okay, hearing none, could we go on to fire board comments? Anybody have a comment?
Yeah, I do. Greg, have you thought more of what I called you about as the hazard pay for the people that are going through this now?
Yes, I have. I've been asking around. Most of the hazard pay situations have been. Well, Eric, why don't you define it first? Why don't you let the other board members know?
Well, there's been a lot of talk in the news and stuff about first responders, nurses, everyone really deeply involved with it, getting additional hazard pay. And I called Greg one day to find out if there was any thought to this, if there's any room in the budget to move things around, just to put a bug in his ear and let him start thinking about it. So don't know if it's feasible, but I kind of threw it in his court and said, if it's something that we should consider, maybe we should look at it.
Yeah. Who would look that up? Greg would look.
Yeah, I've been asking around,
Okay.
reaching out to Grand Rapids Fire Department. And it was when Eric approached me on it, and I still kind of feel this way, well, we're firefighters, I know we signed up for it. Is this high risk? You bet. So is going in fires. And I asked around, and there were some fire departments that were doing it, but they were union fire departments, so I didn't feel they were a good benchmark. So I'm still investigating it. One thing I thought of was keeping costs down is like comp time, letting people, where you don't have those expenses. You pick a day where it's slow and you just allow some comp time. I think people would almost like that as much as money, if not more, in our business. But that does nothing for the paid on call. So I
That's
vetoed
true.
that idea. And the paid on call are the core of our department. So please let me have some more time on this. And I'll try to get some answers for you by the next board meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's what we need.
All right, is there any other fire board comments? Okay, then. I
Well,
will-
Jane, one more thing. I guess this is
Go ahead.
just,
I'm sorry.
Jane, this is, I guess a question. I might as well do it now while you and Aaron are here about, obviously the rest of the board needs to know that the Boscraft North Shore thing was reappealed, I guess we can call it. And while we're all on here, we're wondering if we have a plan for this.
Well, I do know that we have to have a meeting before April 30th to set the time that we're going to have the Board of Appeals. So other than that, I haven't really done too much on this yet. So.
Who do we have?
Madam Chair, we
Is it
were
the board?
reviewing the township ordinance today, and I believe for some reason in the township, when they readopted the fire code, they changed it to 30 days. So we may actually have until May 16th to meet,
Right.
and we're working on confirming that right now. So
But I think we have to use the fire department's rules. I don't know. I guess we'll have to look into that, but
Yeah, that was the confusion. We'll determine that.
Okay, so it's this board that has to set the Board of Appeals, correct?
no. This is just Board of Appeals business.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
it's-
is, I just wanted the rest of the board to know that
Okay.
we're in the middle, kind of in the middle of this, but
And Aaron would.
Yeah,
second
Aaron.
me, I do believe. He's the chair.
Okay, okay. Thank
The
you.
rest of us dodged that bullet.
So Aaron, do you want to meet later about this or do you want to?
I guess my question is, do we need to meet to then set an appeal date, or can we just set an appeal date?
I
And
think
that's-
you're supposed to meet.
Correct. You're supposed to meet to set, and then you can revert the meeting date. You can set the date at that meeting to have another, the Board of Appeals will be, but you do have to meet first. And what we got to determine is a timeline, 10 days or 30 days,
Mhm.
because we have two different two different arrangements here, one for the township and one for the Board of Appeals. We will clarify that and let the Board of Appeals know.
And I would guess that that will be a Zoom meeting as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Is it purposeful to ask on what basis, briefly, they're reappealing?
Can I answer that, Chair?
Go right ahead.
There are, everything's checked off. There's 3 boxes on there. The code was interpreted wrong. The code doesn't apply, and an alternative means of protection was provided. We did exactly what the Board of Appeals asked us to do. The problem was the answers that we gave them were not what they wanted to hear.
Too bad.
I still stand by the position that you have 50 houses, 50 large boat slips, 30 of them considered yachts, and they're giving me a dime store water supply, and I will not take it. I'm sorry. We reviewed it under the WUI code. Unbeknownst to the balance of the board, we hired a neutral third-party consultant. We stayed out of it. Hired him. We paid the money for this review. And he did do it under the WUI code at my request. And he basically denied the request to continue to build. The big problem was the development versus the North Shore is telling us just to review it as one lot. Well, if it was one lot, we don't require a water supply for one lot. Never have. It was 3 houses or more. The first 2 houses built never had a water supply. The third house built now is a subject lot 15. The consultant that did the plan review said, well, I don't understand why this is being reviewed. I'm doing it as a development, and did it under the International Wildland Urban Interface Code, as we call the WUI code. And he says, I think you should deny this. We adopted that. We felt the same. And that's where we got an appeal filed. We think it's a waste of time for the Board of Appeals to review this as one building when they're putting up 50 houses.
And 50 boat slips.
And 50 boat slips with one way in and one way out.
Mm.
And it took almost 7 weeks to do the research on the International Wildland Urban Interface Code. And we had to establish a declaration area. And where the idea came from was Aaron Miller. Aaron was the one who showed a map about North Shores being a wildland urban interface area by the United States Department of Agriculture. Taking that, doing the research and the definition and the findings of fact, which is analyzing this, we concluded that it applied. And that's what we used for our declaration. We took all the information from the whole file, submitted it to the plan reviewer that we hired, and they did a pretty comprehensive review of it, which included there's not enough information here. So I do not feel that we should be wasting the Board of Appeals time with reviewing this as one lot. I don't think that their lawyer should be telling the Board of Appeals how to review this. It doesn't make any sense. And the lawyer, I'll let Aaron chime in. Our lawyer has already chimed in on this. We worked on this Saturday morning. And I'll let Aaron take it from there.
I don't know that I have much more to say. I don't know what grounds we have to not hear an appeal. Like, that's something I would like advice on is, at what point do you say we're not even going to hear the appeal? And is that allowed or not?
You have to figure this is gonna lawyer up like crazy one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
didn't
The,
hear- I didn't hear Dan there. Sorry.
I said that however this thing goes, there are gonna be lawyers involved. I mean, if the Board of Appeals looks at it, says, wait a minute, we've been here before, it's denied. It's going to, I don't know how these things work, but it's going to a circuit court or it's going in front of some judge or who knows what, because that's the way this has been so far. It's like you keep going.
Well, we actually ruled in favor of them partially, and gave them another code to go by. And, well, 5 o'clock.
but
5 o'clock somewhere.
it
So I
would be
don't-
my feeling- excuse me.
Yeah.
It would be my feeling that we not hear this appeal again without an attorney present. I think this has gone far enough. And this is just gonna happen over and over and over and over and over until they hear what they wanna hear. So I think we need an attorney present and I think, at some point, we have to say, we can't do this anymore, so.
Well,
and
it's kind of like double jeopardy in my mind. We've already ruled and let them go from there.
Right,
I don't understand why they want us to hear it again. That was
So
our
what-
rule. It's like you want to take it to the Supreme Court, so forth.
yeah, I
But
mean, at the last Board of Appeals meeting, I said, this is moot because we're gonna end up in the same place again, which we did. Just because you use a different code doesn't mean you're gonna get a different answer, so.
Mhm.
The only thing they're taking into account is fire flow, and there's a whole lot of other variables in this case, so I don't know where to go from here.
Well, if they just do what's right, we wouldn't have this problem, but I guess that's the problem. I think I agree with you, Jane. This is now into the attorney's hands, and can we charge them the new fee schedule that we came up with for this new appeal, or is this part of the last appeal?
Well, and I don't think we've adopted that fee schedule.
We have not changed the fee for the Board of Appeals because the Board of Appeals has not met since the last time. That's actually on the agenda for the next Board of Appeals. If Mrs. Chair, can I go on just a bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Comment? I guess my concern for the Board of Appeals and for the fire district in general is how are we going to have an appeal every time they want to build something? And we've mentioned that. And that's what I'm worried about. And I agree, you need to have an attorney there to have them represent this because it's everything we do, nothing's right. That's what they kind of act on because it's not what they want to do. So this is going to keep going on and on with every house we construct there. And I have no interest in wasting time with this. So
what they're doing is, the Board of Appeals has met and came to a decision. Now they're appealing the Board of Appeals?
they're appealing the direction of the board was to re-review it under a different code. We did that. We selected one of the two codes we were allowed to use. The consultant used it, and we concluded we agree with the consultant, and North Shores does not agree with that conclusion. So they're appealing that
The appeal.
decision.
Yeah, they're appealing the appeal.
Right.
I got a question
That
as
makes no
far as lawyers. Greg used Jeff Sluggett, that was their side. They used Carl. What are we doing? Do we need to use someone different than Jeff Sluggett because it could be a conflict of interest? Is he representing the Board of Appeals and the fire department? That doesn't sound right.
I'm completely comfortable and recommend you consider Jeff because he knows the background, and Jeff was on the first Board of Appeals. He helped form the Board of Appeals when we modified it. So he is up to speed on the procedures and policies of the Board of Appeals. And I think he would be an asset at this point as far as handling that. I think, you know, the Board of Appeals is a function of the fire district, and he certainly represents the fire district.
Yeah, I agree. I
So
agree with
I would consider that, Eric, and go along with that. If it goes to circuit court, then we've got to contact our insurance company, and they provide representation as they did before until Bosgroff dismissed the lawsuit.
And that's, yeah, that's exactly what we would do, so. You know, we would waste a lot of money getting another attorney up to date on what's going on, so. I think.
Well, I would agree with that. I just don't want Jeff Sluggett to be in a position where, you know, he's representing the fire district side and representing the Board of Appeals.
Well, I think Jeff would let us know if he thought it was a conflict.
I think that should be a question we should ask him, just to cover ourselves.
With the board's permission, I'll just send Jeff an email and ask him about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes.
Will do. I'll send the response out.
Okay.
Right. I guess at this point, we're gonna have to decide when we have to meet. I mean, I can meet within 10 days.
I got all the time in the world. Unfortunately.
I guess, Aaron, you're the one that probably doesn't have all the time in the world. I would guess that you're probably still working, so.
From home, so that's easier. Could we just set the initial meeting for like maybe the morning of the 27th? I don't know, Eric, or if that works for you, or if you need after.
No, this is fine. That would be fine.
Okay.
The 27th is what day?
Monday.
Monday.
Week from today.
Yeah, if it's in the morning, that's fine with me.
Maybe can we just do like 9 a.m.?
Works.
Get up early.
Works for me. Would Chris set that up?
Oh, you know,
Medical, 560 Campbell Road, City, 560 Campbell Road, Secret of Suspects, Unit B, Bravo 2, for a 45-year-old male trouble.
Sorry about that.
we're gonna, hey, Chris, maybe this is better to do, Chris has to take the minutes, does he not? So maybe this is better for to do it on a Tuesday because Chris doesn't work on Monday.
Oh, okay. How about Tuesday at 9 a.m.?
That works for me.
I think I have weekly COVID meetings with Med Control at 9:30. So would we be able to do 10 or 10:30? They're usually only about half hour.
I can
10:30
do
is fine.
10:30. I have an 11 o'clock meeting. I could do 10.
10. Okay, how about 10?
10 on the 28th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Works.
Okay.
okay.
Chief, does that work for you?
Yep. I'll make it work.
Okay. Then, somebody make a motion that we adjourn if we're done.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Okay, I have a motion. We can just do this by a wave of the hand. Is all in favor, wave your hand.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, we are adjourned.